Hand over the cashier's check right now, or you leave this conference room in handcuffs. I'll never forget the color draining out of my mother-in-law's face when she turned around and saw two uniformed deputies standing right behind me at the title company's front desk. She had the pen resting on the final signature page for a 4-bedroom suburban house. A house she was buying for her precious, golden child son using every single penny of my late grandmother's trust fund. She actually thought she'd pulled off the ultimate wire fraud scheme behind my back. She really thought I was sitting at home, completely oblivious, crying over my loss. Okay, so to understand how this absolute nightmare unfolded, we have to rewind about 6 months. My grandmother passed away and left me a total of $350,000. It was meant for me to put a down payment on a place of my own and secure my future. My mother-in-law, Brenda, found out about the payout almost immediately because my husband, Mark, can't keep a secret from her to save his life. If you're new here, subscribe, I post a new story every day. Now here's where I should have seen the warning signs. The very second Brenda heard about the inheritance, her entire attitude toward me shifted overnight. Suddenly, she was calling me, daughter. She was bringing over baked goods. She was dropping subtle hints about how hard her younger son, David, had it. David is 32, refuses to keep a job for more than 3 weeks, and still lives in Brenda's basement. Brenda kept saying things like, family helps family, and, it's a shame some people have so much while others have nothing. I mean, come on. I'm sitting there thinking, are you seriously trying to guilt-trip me into buying your adult son a home with my dead grandmother's money? Asterisk. Would you have said something right then, or just let her talk? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I politely told her no. I told her multiple times. That money was locked in a high-yield account under my legal maiden name, managed by an estate attorney. Or at least, I thought it was completely secure. What I didn't realize was that Mark had given his mother access to our filing cabinet at home. Brenda got her hands on my social security number, my legal docs, and old bank statements. Over the next 2 months, Brenda worked with an unethical mortgage broker she personally knew to impersonate me. She forged my signature on wire transfer authorizations, set up a fraudulent joint account, and initiated a transfer of the full $350,000 into an escrow account for a house closing. I woke up on a Tuesday morning, opened my banking app to check a balance, and saw the main trust account sitting at 0. My heart literally dropped into my stomach. I couldn't breathe. I called my bank frantically, and they told me the wire had been authorized using my credentials and sent directly to a local title company for a real estate closing happening that exact afternoon. Asterisk. I called Mark immediately, panicking, expecting him to be just as horrified as I was. Wait, read between the lines here, because his reaction told me everything I needed to know. Mark hesitated on the phone. He stammered. Then he actually had the audacity to say, "Babe, calm down. Mom was just trying to help David get on his feet. We were going to explain it to you after the papers were signed. David promised he'd pay us back eventually. Now here's where I'd have lost it, and trust me, I did." Mark wasn't just passive. He was in on it. He helped his mother forge my documents because he was too spineless to stand up to her. I didn't argue with him. I hung up the phone instantly. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I called my estate attorney, who immediately contacted the county sheriff's financial crimes division. Because the wire transfer involved grand larceny, identity theft, and active bank fraud over $100,000, the detective took it dead serious. When I told the sheriff's deputies that the closing was happening in 2 hours at a title office 15 minutes away, they told me to meet them in the parking lot. I drove over there with my attorney. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, but I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. We pulled into the parking lot at 1:45. The closing was scheduled for 2 o'clock. I saw Brenda's car parked right up front, next to David's beat-up sedan. The 2 deputies walked in first, with my attorney and me right behind them. We walked past the receptionist and straight into conference room B. There was Brenda, wearing her best Sunday dress, holding a pen, chatting casually with the seller's agent. David was sitting next to her, smirking, already looking over the keys laid out on the table. Mark was sitting in the corner, looking nervous. When the door swung open and the deputies stepped in, the entire room went dead silent. Brenda looked up, saw me, and her eyes went wide as saucers. I walked straight up to the table, pointed at the closing file, and told the closing officer to freeze all transactions immediately due to active wire fraud. Brenda tried to play the victim. She stood up and started yelling, "This is a family matter." "She's crazy, officer, she agreed to give us this money." The deputy didn't even hesitate. He told her to put the pen down and place her hands behind her back. The title officer immediately flagged the escrow funds and cancelled the entire closing on the spot. Brenda was escorted out of the building in handcuffs right in front of her son, the seller, and the realtors. David started screaming at me, but the second deputy warned him that if he stepped closer, he'd be taken in for felony accessory. Mark stood there in the corner, totally silent, looking like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. I walked up to Mark, took my wedding ring off, dropped it right onto the closing table next to the house keys, and walked out. The wire transfer was frozen and fully restored to my account within 48 hours. Brenda is currently facing multiple felony charges for identity theft and grand larceny. I filed for divorce the very next morning, and I haven't spoken to Mark since. I'll be honest, I didn't expect my marriage to end over a real estate closing, but it showed me who those people really were. It's crazy how fast people will destroy their own families the moment they see dollar signs they think they're entitled to. Justice was served, but the betrayal still stings. What do you think? Did I handle this the right way, or would you have handled it differently? Drop your verdict in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, and subscribe for more stories every single day. I'll see you in the next one.